Okay, we are live right now. My name is Magnus Forsyth, and who's this guy?
Jaxall,
Yeah,
and
this
we're
is our podcast called Llama Talk.
yeah. Llama
Okay,
Talk.
so Jack, tell us what Llama Talk is.
Um, well, we're both huge Survivor fans, and we've both been wanting to just share our opinion with each other, I guess, for a long time about Survivor. And so this is a way to do it and get our opinions out there. We love watching Survivor. We love talking about Survivor. So Llama Talk, we're just gonna be having fun with it and talking about
Yeah,
Survivor.
we're Survivor freaks. Um, if you're a llama enthusiast, this isn't the podcast for you. This is strictly reality TV. We're going to be recapping all the episodes of Survivor, probably some other reality TV based podcasts, maybe off season, talking about Survivor. Big Brother also, when that time of year picks up. We're not really talking for the first few episodes of the season, but we're here for episode 5, and we're gonna, make up for the lost time. A lot of energy, isn't that right, Jack?
Yeah, sure, sure. I mean, we definitely love Big Brother too, but Survivor's where it started, and we're gonna like.
Survivor's, oh shit, I've been obsessed with the show since I was 4 years old, and, we're huge fans. Anyway, so do you want to get right into the episode, Jack?
Uh, sure, sure. I
Dude, we
mean,
don't, we don't want to keep all of our loyal, dedicated, thousands of fans, waiting.
yeah, our thousands, a handful of fans.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, where do you want to start? I mean, Kelly
Well,
was
first of all,
obviously. She was
yeah,
my
Kelly's
favorite.
gone. He's out. But before we get started, we should probably say, like any podcast, you guys can leave questions, and we'd be more than happy to talk about it. I don't anticipate that being a thing for this podcast, but future podcasts, if you want to ask questions, we'd be more than happy to answer it. But yeah, so Kelly was your favorite, wasn't that, Jack?
Yeah. I mean, I had really high hopes for her pre-season. I just she seemed like a good player. She seemed like she knew what she was doing, and like I feel like honestly what like led to her downfall, she just like couldn't decide between playing her own game and playing couples game. And that's like the like real problem with the dynamic of blood versus water is just like she had her dad there and she also didn't want to play with her dad. And
Yeah.
like
And I feel like she was kind of wishy-washy in whether she was going to play with her dad, go all out in that avenue, and really try and pull over John and Jacqueline, and really try and do something with Keith. Maybe know that they're going to flip the to split the votes and try to get Keith on their side to force a tie or do something. And she was kind of wishy-washy, and I feel like if she was more cutthroat, she might have written her dad's name down, or maybe tried to do something to preserve herself more. And I feel like because they had a loved one, it was more focused on their collective effort in the game rather than her individual success, which is the different thing about Blood versus Water that is really never seen in Survivor because it's always, mano a mano.
yeah. And also I feel like I mean I'm not saying this because I really like Kelly, but like I also think it had something to do with Dale. I feel like he was one of like her downfalls. Like just like he was such a hothead, at camp, and like him getting in a fight with Missy obviously didn't help. They obviously wanted to like take power away from him, and I also think like they knew out of like Kelly and Dale, he probably had an idol. So just to be sure, and just to try to flush the idol if he did have one, they were gonna vote Kelly out.
Yeah. And I feel like Dale got as Kelly in the tribe swap because Dale ended up with Jacqueline and Baylor, probably the two people he's least connected with out of his original tribe. And same thing with Kelly. Kelly ended up with three people she probably didn't really get along with that well. So I feel like the tribe swap definitely did them in, and I feel like if they kind of broadened their horizons and got everybody on their tribe to like them a lot, it might have gone a little differently rather than making a few different enemies here and there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll obviously talk more about this.
Yeah, we'll talk more at the end. We should probably go back to the beginning of the episode, get a full-on recap here going.
Yeah, I'll lead off. I mean, we start off with the recap of last episode, and the funny thing is, like, they're saying, like, oh yeah, Hinata is, like, dominating, it challenges everything, and they show a picture of Reed just, like, doing this weird stretch on a tree, and, like, none of them, they're, like, obviously this episode we saw Hinako's not dominating everything. Their camp life sucks. It's like they're the most dysfunctional tribe since like.
Because when you look at the actual tribe divisions, like how they voted at tribal council, it's clear that Koyoba strategically was much more together in their votes, and they had much more of an idea of what was going on. But basically, like, you know, Hunahpu was a clusterfuck. Sorry, there might be a few. There might be a few swear words on this podcast. We're casual guys. We're just hanging out here having fun. Come
on. Also, I mean, after the recap, we get back and like John starts doing damage control, and like honestly, I mean, he wasn't bad. Like he did all the right things and like separating himself from like Drew right off the bat. Even though he didn't even vote with Drew. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
And he voted for like and I feel like, I mean, like, Jeremy's being so cocky in that scene where he's just
Jeremy was being, like, that's unnecessary to basically say, like, oh yeah, John is groveling over to me. He's basically kissing my feet. Like, shut up, Jeremy. We made you head honcho.
Like, Jeremy's playing a great game. He's right. He's in the middle. Game. But, like, you can't take anything for granted, you know?
Jeremy's playing a mediocre game amongst a group of people who are playing horrible games. So I guess for this season, we could say Jeremy's playing great if we're comparing it to everyone else. But like, I don't think Jeremy is the strategic mastermind enough to be able to act the way he was acting around John. But first of all, I just want to talk about how misleading last week's scenes from the next episode was. Because it depicted it like John was going, you're either with me or you're against me, and you're blah, blah, blah. And it made it seem like John was going on this rampage, but he was just basically recapping what Drew told him, and it was 100% misleading. So I thought that was kind of, you know, a middle finger to the viewers, that none of that came to fruition at all.
Well, I mean, like, honestly, that's what I was thinking. It's like, you're either with me or against me. I was like, oh shit, John, like, what are you doing? What do you think? But like when I watched it, I was like, well, like John didn't play that bad. You know, he could have played that worse. And I mean, I think he was a little too direct about it. I mean, the editing made him seem a little too direct about it, and like just like right off the bat, right when they get back from tribal council, he's apologizing, trying to cover his like ass, you know. And it's like, you should wait, you know, sleep it off, build your bonds with people. You know, don't try to force it on them right when you get back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it comes off as disingenuous if you're gonna be like, oh my god, like, oh yeah, I wanted to get Drew out also, like, oh man, that was a good move, like really good. Like you're like, yeah man, I was surprised, but like I understand why you did it, but you know, it's just like, yeah. You know, that's all you have to do, and then maybe, you know, pick up steam and try to do some damage control later.
Yeah, like I mean, I think a great example of that is Spencer last season. Really, you know, he didn't hide his feelings from people when he got back from tribal council, but at the same time, he like knew when the right time to build bonds with people. And it's not right after tribal council. And I mean, luckily, John got a tribe swap, so he didn't have to worry about like. Yeah,
but what John did is better than what like. It's better to at least, you know, do damage control sooner rather than not at all. Sometimes Spencer just, you know, he got pissy at Cass and then burned that bridge and never had Cass again in the game, when Cassie probably easily could have been, you know, swinged back to their side. So I think that was a flaw in Spencer's game. But at least John isn't making that poor decision, because he easily could have been, you know, super pissed off and saying, you know, I trusted you guys and blah, 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 you know.
Um,
Anyway, so do you wanna jump ahead to the hero arena?
yeah, stupid hero arena. Yeah.
Yeah, the heroes arena, so greatly named hero arena.
Yeah, like it's Redemption Island. Okay, it's Redemption Island. That's all it is.
It's,
And
yeah,
I mean, like, of course they don't have like I like Hero Arena because it's like it's not like someone has a chance to get back in the game after they've like been voted out. You know, like I think that's
mhm.
just so unfair. But like, I mean, call it whatever you want, Probst. Yeah, and then they go in, and Alec was so certain his brother was not going to be voted out.
Yeah,
Alex,
and
Alex the mini me. Alex just the mini me of Drew. He's like way too cocky.
that's the thing. But like, that's what everyone's saying in the game and like in interviews and stuff. But from like, if I was a casual fan, I would not be thinking that like Alec is getting such a good edit compared to anything that Drew got.
Hmm.
So it's kind of hard if I wasn't, doing all the research I'm doing to really see that Alec is that cocky, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I agree with you, but at the same time, Jeremy's the one that's narrating that tribe now, and
Yeah,
which is weird because Josh was the narrator for his tribe, and now we have Josh and Jeremy on the same tribe, and it's a really weird dynamic. I definitely see either Josh and Jeremy working together and running the game, or just going head against head, and just like
yeah,
really clashing at the merge or even sooner. I don't know because
yeah.
they're
And
both really big
yeah,
contenders to win.
and Jeremy's whole like surround and drown thing on Alec literally had no purpose in being in this episode unless it was to lay foundation for a future move that actually works out successfully. So I feel like it's a good edit for Jeremy because I don't see why they would have that part in the episode anyway. But anyway,
He's like,
we
he's
should.
like,
Yeah, go ahead.
okay, okay. I just thought it was stupid. He's like, yeah, guys, I'm a firefighter. Here's my firefighter term. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, Jeremy.
I'm really surprised that made air. I mean, I think it speaks volumes as to their, the
Yeah,
entertainment level of their confessionals at this point. That, the surround and drown fireman technique. It wasn't even a good analogy to
yeah.
describe, working on Alec to get his vote. The surround and drown thing is just stupid.
I know. Yeah, let's get going.
So the tribe swap, the new Copa is Dale and Kelly, Baylor and Missy, John and Jacqueline, those three pairs, and then Keith. And then the new Hunapu is Josh and Reed, that's the only pair, and then a bunch of singles, Jeremy, Wes, Alec, Julie, and Natalie.
Hmm.
So
Right.
who do you think benefited and, who do you think got screwed in the tribe swap?
I mean, obviously, John benefited a lot from the tribe swap.
Yeah.
Just to be able to get away from Jeremy and that whole dynamic of like Napu, and I think that I mean Jeremy says he was screwed over a lot from the tribe swap, but I mean I don't
Hunapu's
know. I
not
think
losing. They're not going to lose.
Jeremy's just complaining. I mean
Yeah.
I think he's fine. I don't think people are like gunning for him first.
Mhm.
I mean Jeremy's not in a great position right now, but I don't think he's in the worst. I think Keith is in like a pretty hot position if it wasn't for like debate with Missy versus Dale thing.
Mhm. And his idol.
Yeah, that's true. He does it. You have to think on just like using your idol. You want to be able to build bonds with people in the tribe, and if like if a whole tribe's going after you, like one single, and he uses his idol, chances are next time he's probably gonna go home still.
Yeah. And okay, so just before we go any further, I just want to say our name is Llama Talk. If you're a big Survivor fan, you probably know why. Last season, Tony had an argument with Cass in Survivor Caucasian, where he's like, "Do you want me to speak Llama to you? I'll speak Llama." And then he does this weird llama talk thing. It became a really big staple of the season. So just explaining our namesake so you guys don't think we're absolutely crazy for having this name. It doesn't match at all.
Yeah. That was. Would you say that was the best scene from last season?
I'd say it was one of them. I think it's funniest. I don't know best because there's epic scenes and sad scenes and heroic scenes. That was by far the funniest.
That was by far one of the funniest scenes ever.
And I just want to applaud. I just want to acknowledge a super big moment that happened in this episode that we're recapping right now. Reed spoke at the challenge at the hero arena. Reed spoke sentences. He formulated words in a coherent pattern to create a statement. What's your response to this, Jak? I mean, this is amazing.
Wait, there's someone named Reed on this season?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
Who's he paired with?
He's paired with the mastermind, the strategic mastermind of the season, Josh, who's manipulating minds better than anyone.
I mean, like, Reed, like, we never get anything from him. Like, ever. Even if we do, it's pointless. It's like, he's either asking Jeff Probst for rice, or he's, like, talking about eating a vulture. Reed didn't contribute to anything at all. Like, Josh, it's so weird seeing, like, a couple together, like, John and Jacqueline, and they're both talking about how happy they are to be together and stuff, and, like, Missy and Baylor. And, like, you see Josh and Reed, and, like, Josh is just like, yeah, we're so happy to be together. And, like, Reed doesn't even say anything.
Yeah, Reed really talks ever. And, like...
I don't know what he did. The editors hate him. They hate his guy.
And the one thing, I hate that type of thing, because one thing that the audience and everyone can be certain is, like, Reed isn't going to win this season. Like, and if Reed does win this season, he would have to get a hell of an edit in the last half of the game for the audience to be, like, satisfied with that being the ending. But as of now, I don't see his edit matching up with any winner edit in, like, the history of Survivor.
So Reed talked. That was huge. Kelly made annoying faces again about Drew. I mean, like, Kelly just, like, honestly, Kelly had such a bad attitude, just like in the past episode. And then they go back to their tribes. I mean, obviously, Hinapu's still gonna dominate. Hinapu's still gonna dominate because they have such, like, physical people in their tribe. And we get over to their tribe and we see that they have, like, no rice left. They absolutely no rice.
This is absolutely ridiculous because they had beans also. They had an extra bag of food, and the Koyopa tribe only has one bag of rice, and they still have over half of it left. And Hinapu is absolutely done with theirs, and they are almost done with their beans also, which is absolutely ridiculous and unfair for the people who are moving over from to their tribe. It is absolutely ridiculous, and, like, that probably has, you know, a lot to do, like Jeff said in the episode, of why they kept on winning. And I feel like they do have, like, more skilled athletes and stuff, but, like, I mean, if Drew lost 24 pounds in, like, 12 days, and he was eating that much.
I don't understand how he loses that much weight when they were all eating that much. It's, like, no wonder they were winning, you know? I mean, they obviously have more physical people, but now, at least, but, like, of course they were winning. They're eating so much food. And just, like, that's so much more energy during challenges and stuff. They're not, like, dehydrated during challenges. And, I mean, it's so unfair for Alec. It's so unfair for Wes. And it's so unfair for Josh to, like, go over to that tribe and just, like, have that little rice left. I mean, that just screwed them, you know?
Yeah, and, like, it's an interesting dynamic because, like, they've, like, gotten super, like, the fact that they've had to do this many trades and this much bullshit, basically, it's super unfair because they've been dealt, like, a ridiculously good hand. There's been, like, perfect weather the whole entire season, just like the last Blood versus Water, and they had plenty of food the whole entire time, and they just mowed down through it. Like, They had Comfort also, and they were, Fruit Loop dinguses and lost the Flint. It's just like, it's
Nice.
ridiculous.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you gotta know, like, you have to, like, it just pisses me off to see them just, like, throw all that food away like that
Oh yeah,
on Survivor.
and Kelly was telling me that in her Survivor live, Kelly wasn't telling me. Obviously, we had no personal
Oh,
contact.
you know Kelly.
I know Kelly from Survivor. Not
Can I get her number?
not the 5,000 Kellys that have played the game, but like this Kelly from this season. No, yeah, Kelly was doing the Survivor Live interview with Jeff Schroeder, and she was saying how they would cook so much rice that there'd be extra left at the bottom of the pot, and everyone would be full, and it would go to waste. Can you even fathom that on the Survivor? This is Survivor 29. Like, I don't know how this happens.
I mean, I think we know who was like controlling the rice over there. Probably Misty. I mean,
Yeah. But enough with the rice. We should get into like the strategy behind it. So it's the singles from Old Hunabu, which is Julie, who seems to just be controlled by Jeremy and Natalie, even though they kind of viewed her as expendable. Like, do we want to get Julie out? Maybe. But now they're best buds, obviously. And then it's Alec West and Josh from Coyopa, and then Reed's kind of in the middle. But who do you? Well, if they were to go to Tribal Council, which I doubt they will, how do you see that going?
I mean, I can see them agreeing to work with. I see this working one. Like, this is how I think it's gonna work. I think Alec is sense to not want to vote Josh out, and I think they can. But this is what I want Alex to do. I want him to make a deal with like Jeremy and be like, yeah, okay, we'll vote out the couple, but we want to vote out Reed. Even if playing 3 from I would not want to see like Alec go out.
But Josh would be
Wash. I don't think Alec wants to vote. What?
I feel like the whole thing where Jeremy is saying like, oh yeah, it only makes sense for Alec to come over to our side. Like, that's definitely not true, because you guys have 3 people, and if Alec and Wes jump ship, then they're down numbers, and basically they have their entire fate in the games in your hands. So I feel like if they were smart, they'd gun for Jeremy. And I feel like if Reed was smart, he'd be on board. Because even if Reed had good relationships with, the people on the Hunampu tribe, which we have no idea about, I think they must have been okay. I feel like it'd be smartest for him to switch. And then maybe it's best for Josh and Reed, because Josh and Reed could stick with Alec and Wes and bring in Dale or Jacqueline. They have a lot of options. They could go with couples, or they could stick with Alec and Wes and do some other thing. So I feel like the tribe swap is definitely good for Josh and Reed, because I don't think that Alec and Wes are going to turn, and especially I don't even think they're going to go to tribal council
And
because
also,
they're so stacked.
The thing about is that, like, it's so weird, because it's like, you're not just voting out one person anymore. If you want to play Blood vs. Water really well, you have to finish the job. You have to vote out one person, and then you have to vote out their loved one. Because, like, you can't just give that loved one the power to align themselves with other loved one. That's a huge threat. That's what happened to Tyson, Jervis, Monica last season, That's what's happening to Jeremy, Natalie, and, like, what he's trying to get Alec to do this season. And, like, it's a huge problem. And, like, John was picking up on that last episode. And I really think they should be focusing on getting out the singles or getting out the loved ones. It's a weird dynamic, And, like...
And,
yeah.
Did you see this scene with a monkey flying down like 70 feet from the tree and like grabbing onto the branch?
No? What?
Oh, it was just an epic scene. I thought you should have seen it. I don't know. I was going to talk about it. I wrote down in my notes, epic monkey drop, because it's true. If anybody saw that scene, they would know.
I want to see that. I'll go back and check out the epic monkey drop. That epic monkey drop. Let's move on to the challenge.
Let's move on to Cleopa going back to camp, because there's like a scene where basically John and Jacqueline are kissing a lot, and they're basically on honeymoon and stuff. And Baylor's jealous. I thought that was a funny scene, but it actually, they talk more about like John's dad having brain cancer, and I'm super sympathetic to that, but I'm just going to be looking at that situation in terms of editing and like objectively, like I'm going to take the emotion right out of it. Like I feel like the fact that they keep on bringing this up, like Jack, is there like any chance that John isn't like final five person that makes immunity run but gets voted off right before the finals, but we all root for? Like, is there any chance that that doesn't happen? Because he's getting like this is the only person we have basically getting like a three-dimensional edit.
I mean, I definitely feel like there's a lot of three-dimensional edit. The three-dimensional castaways on that tribe now. There's, Baylor. She's like been in the forefront of like that tribe for a while now, and Dale, Keith. I feel like there's a lot of people you really want to root for over that tribe, and I feel like John is just like definitely getting the heroes edit this season. He's definitely getting the Colby, the Spencer edit, just like everyone. He's America's boy now,
But like the thing is that I think he's not as good of that character as we've seen in past seasons. Like I was super rooting for Spencer in Australia, super rooting for Colby, these type of people, and like honestly in Samoa I was probably rooting for Brett more than I really care about John. So I feel like he's trying to assume that role, but like it's not working that well. And I have a question for you. Is Baylor the Eliza 2.0 that's just less entertaining? Because Baylor is literally the target of every single tribal council for the opposition, and she keeps on getting through, and she's not voted off.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I love about Eliza is that, like, she'll always tell you how it is, and she'll always, like, go off on people. Eliza's, like, super paranoid, and, like, she always shows that to the camera. Eliza, also, she's kind of a hypocrite, and it's funny to watch. And, like, Baylor's just not as interesting as Eliza.
Yeah.
So, could she be a downgrade of Eliza? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
and they both have similar looks. Like, is she hot? I don't know. Is she hot? Is Baylor hot?
Yeah.
Is Eliza hot? Do I know? No. So, like, in that respect, I guess they're similar.
Yeah. Baylor, I just keep looking at Baylor. I'm like, how is she, like, I keep thinking she's in high school. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Baylor's so annoying, though. Baylor's so annoying. I don't know. Something about, like when she's talking about John and Jacqueline kissing and everything, I'm just like, okay, like, she must be annoyed. She must be annoyed by that.
So anyway, we go back to their camp, and Keith says that he's screwed. So considering, like, the edit portraying Keith as, like, kind of being paranoid, is he a badass for not playing his idol, or is he just kind of clueless on what's going on and blind faithing it?
I mean, Keith's definitely a badass. There's no question there.
There's no question about it. I love Keith.
There's two things that I read from that, and that's that Keith reads people pretty well. I mean, when we had the scene with Missy and Dale fighting, that was right after Keith was saying he was screwed, and you see Keith in that scene sitting down at the fire, and he's just watching them, and like I think that shows you that Keith like knows what's going on, and Keith and they never highlighted it, like how Keith and like Reed for truly last episode, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And also the other thing I get from that is that Missy and Baylor were smarter than Dale and Kelly, because they pulled in that extra number, you know, and Keith. And I think that's ultimately why Kelly and Dale didn't get as far.
Yeah. Because I feel like, you know, with that extra number, they had the option to, like, split the votes. And I feel like if you're going to, like, if John and Jacqueline are going to flip over to, you know, Kelly and Dale, or they're going to flip over to Keith, Missy, and Baylor, that's 3 people versus 2. And frankly, they have a lot more options. You know, what if Baylor has an idol or something? You know, then that, you know, puts them in risk if they decide with Kelly and Dale. So I think it's always smarter to go to the side with more options.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so then before the challenge, before the immunity challenge, there's this scene with Dale fighting Missy about the rice. Missy's getting pissy about the rice. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's the first lame pun of the podcast.
I'll get my trophy for that, my tribal trophy.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna give out trophies every week to what we thought was the funniest part of the episode, and I think we have a few contenders this episode.
Yeah, we'll talk that through a little bit later. But anyway, this scene infuriated me because Missy was saying, "Oh yeah, we ate so much more back at Hunapu, and it's just like Dale's just bossing me around, and I don't like okay, Hunapu is screwed right now because you were the one cooking the rice." Kelly in her Jeff Schroeder interview said that Missy was always the one cooking the rice, and that was like her thing. So she single-handedly screwed over the other tribe, and now she's saying like, "Oh, we always had more at Hunapu," but like it makes no sense because you're like, you know, Dale should have had. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, she's not in that situation anymore. And
yeah,
it's kind of like, it makes you so pissed. It's like, look how much they're suffering, you know? They have to fucking do like a huge trade next episode just because you were cooking all their rice.
Yeah, and Missy tries to rationalize it by saying, oh yeah, the Koyopa tribe got to vote off member after member, so they didn't have to eat as much. Like, but if you actually pay attention, it doesn't matter that they were only serving, you know, after day 3, only 8 people, and after, you know, day 6, 7 people, and so on, because like they were just eating once a day. They were only eating 1 meal a day, and Hunapu was having 2. They were eating twice as much, and they were even eating to the point where there was stuff left at the bottom of the pot. So, you know, like Missy is absolutely ridiculous for, you know, jeopardizing the tribe like that. It's just stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And Dale shouldn't have gone off on her. He should have, like, you know, been more calm about it. And Kelly was smart to try and diffuse the tension. And I liked when Kelly called Missy a self-centered, bossy bitch. It's totally true.
She kind of is. She kind of is. I mean, I don't know. I've never been a divorced woman in 3 marriages that you know of, but I don't get the feeling that she should be milking that as much as she is. Like, I don't know. I just feel like she's kind of just like whining all the time.
Yeah, she's a victim all the time, and she's like, yeah, like I had to get Drew out. Like I don't want to, you know, people to treat me bad. And like there's a secret scene where apparently Drew said like he didn't trust Missy, and then Missy found out about it, and she's like, oh, I always pick guys that are so mean to me, and blah blah blah. Like no more, I'm gonna get Drew out. It's just like, shut up, Missy. Like.
Yeah.
Anyway, so did you see, this is similar to the monkey thing, did you see the clip of Dale's sunburnt peeling back? Because it was absolutely disgusting and hilarious.
Yeah, it was gross. It was gross. And there's like hair on it, and like...
Ugh, it was absolutely nasty. Anyway, it's like Koyopa, it like they weren't the worst tribe in Survivor history. Like, they were bad at challenges, but they just, like, had a worse tribe. Like, let's be honest. They just had, like, less athletes on their tribe. And Cleopa was smarter with the food and more strategic with their tribal council votes. So, like, it shows that they were, you know, more together than Hunahpu, who's a mess with their food and a mess with their votes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they were definitely more together. You could say that maybe tribal council brought them more together or something, but they definitely, you know. And I think that if they kept going, they might, that as like if they all had like, if there was no swap, I think Cleopa would have probably won this immunity challenge, maybe.
Yeah, could have. So we go to the next immunity challenge. I have a question for you. Is the mud we saw in the challenge the darkest mud in Survivor history?
Yeah, I was thinking about the challenge from last season with the mud from Cagayan, and that was like so. Why are we talking about mud color? Yeah, it's really dark. It's really dark mud.
That was like light mud, and that was lighter than normal. And some seasons they have like gray mud. The mud like looks gray. They look like ghosts. But this mud was like it was like black mud basically, and they looked ridiculous.
You know they set that up just to like get them all dirty. That's all they wanted.
And the funny thing is that like they were gonna try and do like, you know, the tar and feather thing, like put them in mud and then they have to shake the pole to get all the dirt on them. But like Hunahpu was shaking it so much the dirt was just flying everywhere and didn't even like fall on them.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think of the challenge? Do you think it was a good challenge?
No. I feel like I don't know, like the throwing the bags on the disc thing looks like from a viewer it looked harder than like they made it seem, but I'm pretty sure like it must have been fairly easy, because if it was hard they would have edited it to look extremely hard. So I feel like they had a very easy time with it. I would have liked it more if it was like some type of puzzle at the end, some type of thing that equalized it, because I really don't like challenges where like, you know, like individual challenges I can understand if someone wins before like, you know, the next person arrives at the last station. But for tribe challenges, I feel like you should at least design the challenge so like normal tribes can at least get to the same station at the end and have a few tosses in before one tribe wins. Overall, I thought it was kind of a boring challenge.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, it wasn't that great. I mean, it was like one of those simple, just like get dirty challenges. And like I thought, like maybe there would be a puzzle at the end, like you'd have puzzle pieces in your bag or something, or like keys to unlock something. But like it was just tossing. And like also, Wes was the fucking MVP of that challenge.
Wes,
I don't think he missed.
Wes is so good at challenges. I don't think he did miss. Wes is so good at challenges. He's getting a shitty at it, though. But like Wes is the man in challenges at least. But like the thing about challenges like this is, I would like prefer to see them run it and like seeing like, oh, all 8 members of the tribe dig in this pit. All 8 members of the tribe go through the mud. Like stuff like that works when like, okay, 6 members go in a canoe, paddle around, do something. But like stuff like this, I feel it's better in like relay form. Like one person goes in the mud and through an obstacle course to grab a beanbag or a bag of bean bags, and then comes back. I feel like that those are more entertaining to watch. Because imagine like from like just a normal player on the tribe, like Baylor for instance. Like what does she have to do this challenge? Like pretend to dig with the rest of the tribe, lace through the mud, then shake a pole. Like no one had to do anything in the challenge really, except for like Wes and Jeremy. You know, it's just such like I wasn't a fan of the challenge. I think the challenges this season have been good though.
Mm-hmm. I especially like the water challenges. I mean, the diving one where they had to swim out, that was pretty cool.
I love diving challenges.
Sumo one's always awesome.
But I feel like even the land immunity challenge, like the Game of Throw-ins challenge, that was a good challenge. I liked it. I don't like it as much as the water ones, but like, I'll take that challenge.
And then so Hunahpu wins by like it wasn't even close, to be honest. And then funniest scene, what I think is the funniest scene is when they were so Hunahpu wins, they're leaving, and Jeff's like, or no, Koyopa's like, he's like, okay, Koyopa, we're gonna have like a date at tribal council tonight. Put your lipstick on, look nice. I'll see you there. And they walk off, and then what's the other tribe's name? Fucking tribe names.
Hunahpu and Koyopa.
Yeah, Hunahpu's just like, Reed's just like, Jeff, I have something to talk to you about. And Jeff's just like, what? Like, the fuck? Like, I can't process this right now. Like, why are you putting this on me? Like, just like, give him the fucking best stare.
He's like already like sipping his latte, like leaving the set. Like,
yeah.
Hold on, Jeff. And
I got my massage right now.
Jeff was like, honestly, I feel like Jeff should have been more of a dick about it. It would have been funnier. But like, he was understanding. He was understanding in the sense where like, he's like, okay, yeah, like Josh, Wes, Alec, you don't deserve this shit. But he should have been like, the rest of you guys were idiots. And honestly, like, 6 days away is the next merge. They have snails. They have some rice and beans left. And I don't feel like they should be allowed to trade.
Yeah. And, I mean, I love Snarky Jeff this season. Snarky Jeff has been the best Jeff in the past 10 seasons. And I definitely think they should, like, at least give them fishing gear or something to survive, because like Hunahpu doesn't have any fishing gear, but like I think that Jeff should not trade with them for the rights. I think he should have just been Snarky Jeff again, and just told Reed to like go kill a vulture or something.
No, they should. You know what Jeff should do is be like, you guys fucked up, and be like, okay, here's like a stick with the fishing pole like thing, fishing line at the end. You have 3 hooks. And I'll give you this Hawaiian sling, these 2 things. You give me all your comfort. You give me what you have left of your rice and beans. And you give me the entire shelter. I'm getting a tractor, and I'm picking up the entire thing. And all you have left is your pot.
Yeah.
And you can have, I'll take one of the flints, I guess. What if they're like, here's the extra flint, and you can have this.
They're just like, Jeff, do you want a flint? My life's fine! My life's fine! Just driving away. I mean, if he did that, Missy would be the automatic target at merge, for sure. They'd be so pissed. And then, so he agrees to trade, and he says, enjoy your rice for the night, and I'll trade with you tomorrow. Because he's apparently really hyped about tribal council and has to look nice for tonight.
You know what he should have done? He should have just been like, okay, eat all your rice, don't even ration it, like, just eat whatever's left, and we'll settle this tomorrow. And like the next day he goes there like, sorry, I'm not giving you anything. You guys are screwed. Okay, do you want to do like the pre-tribal council strategy?
Yeah, let's get into that.
I think we're going a little long, but whatever. We can talk. Honestly, if anybody ever watches this ever, Jak and I are probably going to talk for like 75 more hours after this about Survivor. We could probably talk all day about it.
We could talk for a long time about Survivor.
So the pre-tribal council strategy. What did you think about how all the players were going about their stuff?
I mean, I thought, like, going into this episode, when I saw the swap, I was like, man, Keith is going to be the definite target this episode. And then you have that weird dynamic between Missy, Baylor, and Kelly and Dale. And it's so weird having 2 people as the swing vote for that situation, And,
it's bizarre. It did make TV, but in Kelly's Survivor Live interview, she said how John and Missy were actually really, really tight.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like a weird mother-son, mama's boy relationship. They had like nicknames for each other, and they were apparently like super tight. So, and apparently going into Tribal, Kelly was only like 5 to 10% confident that John and Jacqueline was going to side with them. So it wasn't as much of a blind side as they showed it. But we'll get to Tribal. But the pre-Tribal Council strategy, I feel like Dale and Kelly did as well as they could. I feel like it wouldn't have hurt trying to get Keith's support.
Can I just say something? Dale's kind of perverted. He's kind of creepy. I mean, like, I got this weird vibe that he was like kind of like hitting on Jacqueline, and like when they were in like the shelter, you know, it was like I think it was Kelly. Kelly was there, and it was Dale talking to like John and Jacqueline, and he's like talking about like, oh yeah, Michigan or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they could get to Tribal, and he's like, oh yeah, they're pretty hot or something. They're pretty hot.
Yeah.
And I found out. You know what his Twitter handle is?
What?
FarmGuy69.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
I think Dale's nose is getting like sharper as he's losing weight. So I think that, you know, he should get voted off as soon as possible. No one has to see that.
You think they're gonna use him to catch fish then? His nose?
I feel like they could have done something with Dale's fake idol that he's gonna pull out next week. I don't know, maybe giving it to John and Jacqueline, saying like, okay, I'm gonna give you this idol and assurance that like, you know, we are with you for the long haul. You can give it back after the vote if you want, like, but you can keep it. Like, we just know that this vote's a gamble, and like, we just really want you guys to know that we have your back 100%, more than Missy and Baylor ever will. Don't you feel like that might have been worth trying?
Mm-hmm. Also, I feel like it would be so hard to believe that he actually had an idol when he didn't use it at a crucial time. You know? And, like, what will people think, like, about the fake idol, you know? It's like, oh, he didn't even use it on his own daughter. You know?
Yeah. And do you think that people, because I know that people still suspect Keith of having an idol, but from an outsider's perspective, you know, you would think that Keith was definitely in the hot seat in the last 2 tribals he's been to, so it took good instincts and guts for him not to play it, you know?
Yeah, I like Keith a lot. Keith is definitely one of my favorites this season, and I think he's a strong contender to win, not because he's a strategic mastermind or anything like that, but he just has such a good read on people. He has such a good read, and he's learning the game really.
He's so calm. He's so calm and collected, and he's just, you know, if I was on a tribe with Keith, I would not want him to go, because, you know, like, who wants to vote off Keith? He's the calm one. He's not stirring the pot. He's going out catching fish. He's probably like hilarious to be around, like funny, and then he's being depicted on the show. So. And he's pretty funny on the show also. My favorite part of the Tribal Council was when Jeff was basically talking about how John and Jacqueline are the swing votes, and it takes 4 in a tribe of 7. He was talking to Keith like, so Keith, you know, you're just one person, so your vote isn't necessarily enough to side with one of the couples. And Keith's like, Roger. I'm just like...
Wait, does he say his name's Roger?
No, he just says Roger, and I was like, I love Keith, man.
Also, at Tribal Council, I mean, I also love Keith going into Tribal Council too, because Jeff's like, yeah, Keith, you know, are you in the hot seat tonight? And like, you know, pestering him with questions about like how he could be going home, and Keith just plays it off so well, saying like, yeah, you know, I very well could be going home. You know, if they decide to vote me out tonight, I'm dead. You know, I'm gone. Like, I have nothing. He definitely, 1, he, like, put away all idle suspicions, and 2, he played that he was not a strong, like, component to them, and they could easily vote him out, you know?
Have we ever had an older guy like Keith like with an idol. First of all, it seems like the young guys always get the idols. Have you ever had an older guy with an idol playing the way Keith is playing? Because a guy like Dale, like Dale's the old guy from every season, like creepy, weird, you know, too intense, and you know, anti-so like doesn't fit in with the rest of the tribe. But I feel like Keith is definitely a unique old person to be on Survivor.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I really like you. Other things about tribal council?
Not much. There was just like a lot of, you know, stuff with John and Jacqueline being in the middle. I feel like it was edited to be a lot closer of a vote than it actually was, which I appreciate. I like being surprised. I was surprised when the vote happened, and looking back after all the interviews and stuff now, it seemed pretty obvious to everyone on the that like Kelly thought that there was a very good chance she was going home. She didn't think there was any chance that Dale was going to go home. So we get to Kelly being voted off. Do you feel like they made a good choice in sending, first of all, sending her home over Baylor, but not only that, sending her home over her dad?
Sending her home over Baylor, I think.
For John and Jacqueline.
For John and Jacqueline, I mean, I don't know. That's such a... I'm biased because I like Kelly, you know? But I think that definitely Baylor probably performs... I don't know.
The thing is that John, even though Baylor and Missy kind of suck, John was closer with Missy, and apparently John heard from Missy and from other people that Kelly was gunning for him, as well as Drew. So I feel like that's ultimately what did Kelly in, is that got around that she was gunning for John, and I wasn't having that. Obviously, Jacqueline doesn't really care. Like, Jacqueline wasn't on anyone's radar, so she doesn't have a vested interest of getting Dale out or getting Baylor out really that much.
I think they're also really good at manipulating John and Jacqueline, Missy and Baylor were, because like I also think it's funny. I also think Baylor's really good at manipulating her mom.
Yeah.
You know, and like she's like, yeah, Dale was like so mean to me and stuff, and like in secret scenes I watched with Missy, she's saying how like, yeah, I don't give a shit about like Dale, yeah, I don't give a shit about him because he can go like screw himself, like he was mean to my daughter and stuff before I got here and stuff, and it's just like, but like what? Like no viewer have seen him be mean. Like she tried to vote him out, you know?
Yeah.
And
I feel like Missy and Baylor, they're very entitled, and I don't feel like they have like. I feel like the good thing is that they were calm, and I didn't really feel like they were necessarily trying to work John and Jacqueline to the degree that Dale and Kelly were trying to work them. And plus, like, I feel like if you're taking out threats, like Kelly and Dale are obviously big fans, and they've watched the show, and Missy and Baylor are clearly a mess.
She's seen every episode. Count on it. Count on it.
Dude, I've seen every episode of every season 3 times. Firstly, I wouldn't, if I was on Survivor, I wouldn't go in saying that I've seen every episode of every season like Kelly did. I don't think that ever is going to help you. I feel like for the other fellow superfans, be like, yeah, I like Survivor, you know, I missed a few seasons here and there, you know, working in school and stuff, but I love the show. You know, that isn't as intimidating as I've never missed an episode, you know what I mean?
I know. I mean, definitely you know what's coming to you. You know what to expect. But on a season like this, Blood vs. Water, there's only been one season of Blood vs. Water, and Kelly was just like, she just didn't seem prepared for it. You know?
Yeah. And so we get to Kelly going home, and then her you know, confessional right after she gets voted off is basically saying like, oh yeah, I would have done so much better without my dad, and like it was kind of a pain that, you know, that's ultimately what did me in. But, you know, an interesting thing about their casting process is that they both applied for The Amazing Race together. Did you know that? They applied for The Amazing Race, and which is kind of interesting because it seems like, you know, Kelly would be the one applying for Survivor, and they'd be like, okay, the only season like you can be on Survivor 29, which is Blood versus Water. Is there anyone else who'd be willing to do it? And then she picks the only other person she knows that's a Survivor fan, which is her dad. But it seems like a weird, it seems weird that they would both apply willingly for the Amazing Race. But I think that makes it a little bit, I don't think she has as much of a right for saying that she wishes she didn't play the game with her dad when she kind of applied for the Amazing Race with him.
Mm-hmm.
And because people like let's say Drew, who got like recruited for Survivor One World like a while ago, eventually plays with Alec, and then let's imagine that Drew tribe swapped and him playing with Alec eventually did him in. Then Drew might have more of a right, or someone who was very likely to being on the show alone. I think they have more of a right to say that they're pissed that their loved one screwed it up for them, but I don't really feel like Kelly had the right to say that.
Yeah, I know. Like you know what you're getting into, kind of.
Yeah.
When you apply for something like that, like. Also, I feel like, there was always that weird strain between Kelly and Dale's relationship.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I feel like she just wants to blame that for her going home, kind of,
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so then we get to the scenes for the next episode, which is basically Dale's fake idol and the Jeff and the Rice exchange. Honestly, I don't see much next episode. I'm pumped for every episode of Survivor because I'm a ridiculous fan, but I don't see that much happening next episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird that we see scenes from like next episode, and they all seem to be probably like pre-immunity challenge. Yeah. We don't really see anything from the episode besides the fact that like small little things like, oh, Jeff's going over there and then that's going to be over, and then like Dale's like showing John his idol, and they're probably going to try to edit that really big, but I don't think it will be that big of a part.
It's like three out of the 4 scenes for the next episodes have been like them trying to negotiate with Jeff.
I know.
I'm getting sick of it.
It's. I don't think they know what show they're on.
Okay, so what do you think was the funniest moment of the episode?
I think the funniest moment was where Jeff just like looks at Reed at the immunity challenge. Like Koyova's walking away, and like Hanapu has like the immunity idol, and then Reed's just like, yeah, Jeff, and Jeff just like turns around and like stares him down. He's like so surprised. I laughed so hard.
Okay, so we're gonna give this funniest moment idol to Jeff Probst. We're giving us the funniest moment of the episode. Jeff's life is fine. He's tired of Reed's shit, and that made for a really funny moment. So Jeff, there you go. Handing it to you. Congratulations. That's our little beginning to this episode.
Jeff can send us a letter and thank us. We're big people though, so we'll probably get back to him eventually.
There's a 0.0% chance of Jeff sending us a letter, and then if he does send us a letter, he'll have to send us another letter apologizing for saying that.
Yeah, I think this was a good first episode.
Yeah, I feel like we got into a lot of strategy talk, and what are your thoughts? Like, we're done with this episode basically, but it's our first, podcast. What are your thoughts on the season as a whole so far before we wrap things up?
I don't know. If I could say one word, dysfunctional.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not like a strategic masterpiece to witness, like, Tony's game or like Derek's game in the most recent Big Brother season. It's definitely just kind of like, what are these people doing? And I think to people who really like are students of the game and really just appreciate the game aspect and the strategic side of it are kind of, at least I am kind of disappointed with the gameplay, and it kind of speaks volumes to like the intelligence of this cast.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of refreshing, you know, not dominating the game, like, you know,
Yeah.
Derek. We don't have like a Cochran, we don't have like Tony. We just have like people that could, like, anyone could win the game at this point. You know, this tribe is that's what's refreshing about this tribe. You know, we haven't had that for a while, so.
Yeah, but like, it's almost like watching a bunch of midgets playing a basketball game against Shaquille O'Neal, and at least Shaquille O'Neal's doing fantastic dunks that you can see every time, versus like a bunch of midgets just playing basketball and no one's shooting the ball and no one's making it in the basket. It's just kind of pathetic to watch at some point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially, I don't want to get off Survivor, but definitely Derek's game in Big Brother this summer was just.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a huge Derek fan. I was rooting for him from the beginning, but like, it got so boring. Like, you knew from like, I don't know, like week like 3 that Derek was just gonna sweep it up. So.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, a lot of times for seasons we look at like, we admire players based off of how they're playing relative to other players. Like, relative to other seasons, like, these players aren't much. Like, I think it speaks volumes to the season that like we're rooting as much as we are for like, or like we give Josh so much credit or Jeremy so much credit and Keith so much credit, and John is like the watered down version of like a Hayden Moss, or like, you know, I just feel like we're looking at these characters and each of them in their role is just kind of lesser than people in past seasons in their designated role.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like what made Cagayan such a great season is that each person's role, like Spencer is probably one of the greatest underdogs in the history of Survivor. Tony is one of the greatest masterminds in the history of Survivor. Cass is one of the greatest chaotic villains in the history of Survivor. And, you know, it just seems like each one of these people kind of fit their position, you know, well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least it's not Redemption Island, right?
No, yeah, it's like, I mean, we're coming off the heels of such a great season in Cagayan that we're going to be hypercritical of anything that's, you know, worse than that. But I feel like this is maybe a regression to maybe a little bit better than Caramon, maybe like a little bit worse than Philippines level of Survivor right now. This isn't as good as the last 2 seasons.
It reminds me of Gabon a lot. I mean,
it's definitely Gabon-esque.
It just, I mean, hopefully they won't have as like brain dead people post-merge as Gabon did, but like I still feel that like refreshing, just like people that are just figuring out the game at this point, you know, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see.
It's refreshing, but like after 29 seasons, I don't want to see people there who are figuring out the game. It's kind of an insult, you know.
But at least there's no one running it, you know.
Yeah, at least there's no. At least
Jeremy's running it, but like.
At least it's like somewhat spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
That's always fun to see, but you know, I don't know. It's tough. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna get better at podcasting, and we're gonna have a lot of fun doing this, talking about Survivor.
Yeah. And if there's like any specific themes of extra podcasts you guys want us to, like, do a podcast on, you know, the funniest moments in the history of Survivor, or do one on, like, you know, the most awkward moments, or do one on, you know, the strategy behind, you know, tribe swaps or post-merge twists, or, you know, anything. You can all comment on whatever you want. We'll read every single comment unless we get tons of viewers, but I don't see that happening. But we'll try and do some extra podcasts if we can, but we'll definitely do recaps every week. And If you like our commentary on it, if you think it's insightful, maybe it's a little bit different than some of the other podcasts. I feel like we're very unique, great personalities, charismatic. So start watching and keep on watching. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and also if you disagree with anything we said and like you just want to give us a new perspective, feel free to do that. This is our opinion, and there's so many different ways you can look at the strategy of Survivor, the strategy of a group of people, and I mean, we'll definitely interact like that.
And we're more than willing to tell you that you're stupid for thinking different than us, and I'm more than willing to explain why you're wrong. So gladly leave your comments, and we'll prove you wrong the next episode. So, we're interactive, we're fun. I am joking, but yeah, we like the feedback and we like the attention. So keep on clicking, keep on watching. Llama talk. Okay, I'll see you next week. Great first podcast, buddy. Okay.
We're still live.
I know, I'm cutting out. I'm saying bye.
Oh, I thought you froze for a second. Oh.
No, I didn't freeze. Okay, bye.
Bye.